Welcome to Bunnahabhain. Bunnahabhain is one of the least peated distilleries in Islay, so we tend to make a very unpeated spirit. We buy our malt in 1 to 2 parts per million for unpeated. And for our unpeated, we use that, our unpeated spirit, we use that for 12, 18, 25, some of the festival bottles we tend to do in some of the special races. We also have started in the last 10 years, we actually make a peated spirit as well. So that peated spirit, we use malt that's 35 to 45 parts per million phenols. Most of the malt we use comes from mainland Scotland, comes to Bunnahabhain, where it goes through the process of being milled, mashed, fermented and used in it. Bunnahabhain itself, we're the most northerly distillery in Islay. It can produce approximately 2.7 million litres of alcohol. Currently this year we're producing somewhere around the 2 million mark. That'll be 1.4 million litres of unpeated spirit and 600,000 litres of peated spirit. The distillery itself is quite unique in that we are one of the only distilleries, we're the only distillery in Islay that uses spring water for doing our production. On an average day we use something around 250 to 300,000 litres of processed water, and for cooling somewhere between 1.5 and 3 million litres of water a day. When it started off in 1881, Bunnahabhain was called the Islay Distilling Company. They started building in 1881, were in production in October 1883. From 1883 until 1887, it was the Islay Distilling Company. It then merged with another distillery and became part of a group called Highland Distillers. We were part of Highland Distillers through until 2003. In 2003, a company called Monroe bought us, which is now our owners distill in South Africa. But what we produced was a typical Islay peated whisky. In 1963, the kilns were taken out of Bunnahabhain, the mill was changed, the mash tun was changed, the washbacks were changed, and 2 new stills were added, and we increased the production up to 2.7 million litres, which is rated for today. During that time, what happened was the owners had a blend that was selling very, very well in America, and they wanted to change Bunnahabhain to supply that blend. So they changed the whole style of Bunnahabhain in 1963-64 to become an unpeated whisky. So Bunnahabhain from 1963 through to 1997 only produced unpeated whisky, or very lowly phenols, 1 part per million I would say. In 1997, the previous owners had bought a new blend called Black Bottle. That has got a bit of peated whisky in it, so we started producing peated whisky in 1997. The way we done it didn't really work for the distillery, so we only done it for the part of 1 year. But in 2003, when Burn Stewart, which is now Distill, bought the distillery, we put in a new tank, and we can now produce peated whisky this week and unpeated next week without any carryover. So that's how we managed to do our different types of spirit without one influencing the other. Both spirits have got the character of Bunnahabhain, but when we make the peated one, we just get a bit more phenolic smell. And you'll actually find just now, when we go round, we're actually producing peated whisky this week, for the next couple of weeks, and we do a wee experimental one, and then we go into doing our normal Bunnahabhain unpeated. So through this wall, we have 15 malt bins, and each malt bin can hold 60 tonne. So we can actually store 900 tonne of malt on site at any one time. So the malt comes in, passes on the floor above us, the grains of malt fall through into air. Anything bigger than a grain of malt comes out the end. Roughly speaking, in this day and age, for 200 tonne of malt milled, we might get 10 kilos of rubbish coming out of it. So it's not a lot. So the malt weighs out into 40 kilo tips. The malt then just falls down, and inside the mill we have 2 sets of rollers, and we adjust both sets of rollers to get the grind of the husks that we are looking for. So A, it works in our mash tun, and B, we're getting the most extract possible out of the malted barley. This is your grist. So in here, once every grind, we will draw a sample, we have a small box, we shake it 80 times, and from that it gives us 3 components. We get husk, we get grit, and we get flour. And we have a tolerance that we want everything to be within. So for Bunnahabhain, it's 20 to 35% husk, 55 to 70% grit, and 6 to 13% flour. So it's, as long as it's within these tolerances, we'll put it in the mash tun. So that is the box. So we just shake it 80 times, and this is what we get out of it. And we just do this the once, as I say. That's a sample for 1 million. We break it down, we're just checking it all the time to make sure that we're getting it. It's that grind we're looking for. The only thing is, as I keep saying, I can shake the box for that sample, you can shake the box for that sample, and we'll get different results. So that's why we have a tolerance. When we start mashing, we have the sparge, which is the 3rd and 4th waters of the previous mash. That gets heated up to 82 degrees Celsius. We then mix that with cold spring water and we flood the floor. So you have the mash tun shaped like that, and then you have the false floor sitting on top of it. So it's 3,500 litres to cover the false floor, and that's done at 64 degrees Celsius. We then divert the water through the mashing machine, which is behind me. We add another 46,500 litres plus our 12.5 tonne of grist to mash in. Roughly takes 40 minutes. As soon as it's in, we put the rake round 1.5 turns and we stop it at the other side of the mash tun. We let it sit for 20 minutes. We then start draining the liquid out the mash tun. Well, at the start, you'll probably find that in solution there's about 20% sugar in solution, and through the first water what's happening is there's enzymes in the malted barley and they're converting the starch into sugars, and we're drawing the sugars out the bottom of the mash tun. So during the first water, that enzyme activity actually dies off, and you'll see the sugars go from 20 down to about 15. That takes between 4 and 4.5 hours just to drain the first water. We then put on our second water, which is approximately 25,000 litres, plus or minus a couple of thousand litres. It goes on at 80 degrees. We're then just trying to flush the sugar out the mash tun. So we'll start off with about 15% sugar in solution, and you do the second water, it'll drop down to about 5%. That again takes about 2.5 hours. So 50,000 in at the start, say another 25,000 in, we'll actually only get 66,000 litres back out the mash tun. The rest, the other 9,000 litres of water's been absorbed by the husk. Once we fill the wash back, we stop draining, rake the mash, put on our third water, which is 22,000 litres. Again, this goes on at 90 degrees. When that goes on, we'll let it sit for 10 minutes, so we start draining it back out, and it goes into our heating tank. We're just collecting it for mashing in the next time. It's got the very last of the sugars in it. We then, when we get 6,000 litres of that drained off, we put on our fourth water on top, another 21,000 litres, again at 90 degrees, and we drain it all off. For the last two waters, 43,000 litres we put on, we get about 45 to 46,000 litres of water back off, but we get the very last of the sugar. It takes about 12 hours to do one mash. And as soon as we finish one mash, we start the next one. We do clean the mash tun, so if you're lucky enough to be here on a Wednesday or a Friday or Saturday morning this week, you can actually jump in and clean it, as long as you've got all the safety gear. Someone goes in there twice a week and cleans it. This controls the mash house. Everything's touch screen. So if we want to look at a valve, it pops up. If you'd been here in April, we opened valves and we shut valves. We started pumps and we stopped pumps. We hit the button and press start, and it's an automatic process. About 80% of the mash house is automatic. We've kept 20% very manual. Because we have done some of it, but there's some of it we just haven't upgraded the valves yet. We will do it in time, but we want to make sure this part works first. So this is all very automatic. This is the underback. This is the liquid that's coming out the mash tun, but it's actually getting pumped up the stairs about 185 litres a minute or up into the washback. It's going from here through a heat exchanger. And basically all the heat exchangers doing is cooling this liquid down, because it's too hot to put the mash into the wash back. It's currently sitting about 60 degrees. All we'll do is pump it through this. Basically what this is a heat exchanger. So the hot water comes up the first plate and goes down the third plate, goes back up the fifth and travels this way. It comes in this pipe and goes up that pipe. This one is cold spring water. That's coming in. It's cooling the water down. It's grabbing the heat. That cold spring water goes up into our heating tank, where we use it for the second, third and fourth waters for going to mash tin. All we do is recover the heat and we cool down the water at the same time. So, a very efficient bit of kit. You can actually feel it. You run your hand along it. The water starts off at 60 degrees, as I said. It's going up there at 20 degrees Celsius. The cold water's coming in about 5 degrees, and it's going up there just now, probably about 50 degrees, 55 degrees Celsius. So we'll claim a lot of heat back. All our first and second waters go through this. Third and fourth waters bypass the heat exchanger and just go straight into the tank, where it's used for the second, third and fourth waters. We have some very high-tech pieces of kit, like the computer you've just seen, and then the bit of kit that we all watch and all look at is this very, very old gauge, which tells us what's in each heating tank. We've got all the electrics, all the singing, dancing in the computer. That is the one that works. That's the one that we can stand and watch from anywhere. We only have 4. 2 wash, 2 spirit. And as you can see, we keep them very, very clean. No, we don't polish them, we don't clean them, we don't lacquer them. Not yet. Maybe something we'll do in the future. We're in the process just now where some of our copper's quite thin, some of it's needing replaced in the next couple of years, so we'll look at it. In the last couple of years, we've actually replaced the whole of our number 1 spirit by about that at the bottom, but the bottom 10 centimetres we kept. Yeah. Everything else was cut off. The lye pipe was cut off. We replaced the lye pipe here. A number 1 wash still also has a new head put on it, new lye pipe on it. So we're always just looking. So I've already picked out what needs to be done in the next couple of years. We have a list. Probably the next thing we'll do is replace a condenser. This wash back, it's actually the newest one we've got. We only put it in May this year. The one behind us was put in 1963-64. The one beside that was the same age. They will both be replaced next July. Wash backs themselves, they can hold 100,000 litres to the top. Currently this has got 66,500 litres in it fermenting. It's still starting to come up. It will get to the blade which holds it in. Fermentation time at Bunnahabhain is a minimum of 48 hours and a maximum of 110. We mash Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for distilling Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which gives us a long fermentation. We mash Monday, Tuesday and into Wednesday, and that gives us a shorter fermentation. We'll actually use that for distilling Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So the youngest that will go into stills is the 48 hours. At this, we're currently doing 9 mashes a week, so it's probably starting off about, the youngest will be about 55 hours old that's going in. You just get a slightly wee bit more alcohol doing it that way, just a wee bit. All these casks are duty paid. So you can actually come in and taste the casks and then fill a bottle. Fill a small bottle, a 200ml bottle only. This is Bunnahabhain 18-year-old. It's my favourite standard Bunnahabhain whisky. What do you get? I know what I get. I get rich fruit. It's got a spicy palate on it. Bunnahabhain for me always has a wee touch of spice in it. Always in there. Sometimes it gets into ginger, sometimes it doesn't get to ginger. This one doesn't get to ginger. The rich sherry wood that it's been using just mellows that spicy note off a wee bit. But you've got raisin sultanas, dark fruit coming through all the time in it. It's got a wee touch of orange about it as well on the nose. But you can smell the sherry wood in it. There's a huge amount of sherry wood influence, and that'll be all our Oso sherries that we use, and we use a lot of sherry wood in our whiskies. Well, this is, for me, it's one of the best whiskies we do. This is absolutely stunning whisky. One glass of whisky a week is all I'm allowed. One of these days I'm going to fill it up with whisky.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to drink it.
And we
think it's 2 bottles. This is actually one of the casks you've seen in Warehouse 9. So it's actually a Paulo Cortado cask. It says it's a 12-year-old and it's cask strength 55.7% alcohol. What we do is we have got a Warehouse 9 which has got several duty paid casks. Depending when you come, it could have anything from 3 to 6 duty paid casks at any one time. So this is casks. I haven't actually tasted this. I opened the sister cask on the last day of May this year and we've emptied it. So it was about 200 odd litres on it. It was phenomenal. It was, for a cask strength whisky, we done 1, 2, 3, we launched 4 different whiskies that day. We done 3 festival bottles and we done that cask. And I had 7 or 8 of these bottles out of that cask. They're gone. I wanted more. There was some left last week. I was going to buy some today and I was told it's all gone. So they've opened the sister cask. Bunnahabhain 40-year-old. It's actually the 3rd release of 40-year-old we've done. The very first one was a festival bottle we done back in 2003, which was from a 1963 cask, which, if you ever see a bottle of 1963 40-year-old Bunnahabhain released in 2003, it was actually whisky that was made using the very last malted barley out of Bunnahabhain from 1963. This is the second release. It's 41.9% alcohol. So this for me, I'm Scottish, from Islay. So when you're brought up in Scotland, you learn to eat sweeties at a very young age. So this actually reminds me of a sweetie. We have a thing called a foam banana.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
We wrap it in chocolate. And this reminds me of a chocolate foam banana. And if you've never had chocolate foam banana in your life, you don't know what you're missing. Chocolate foam banana it actually reminds me of a ripe banana. You know, when it's just starting to go black and you open it, that's the smell that comes through in this. The blender that puts this together, she doesn't agree with me. She says it's passion fruit. Yes, that's what she gets. Just different but almost similar, and that's what we get through with this. I actually think this is a great whisky. And absolutely, I can't afford to drink it every day, but if I could, I would. That's how good it is. We have some. I get to taste this very occasionally, so I managed to drag the bottle of 40-year-old out the lock cabinet today. So enjoy. It is a beautiful Bunnahabhain. Hello to Argentina. I hope you really enjoyed Bunnahabhain whiskies, and it was nice to see you all here today.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias. La vamos a poner en el Museo de Whisky, el Museo de Whisky. Va a estar puesta ahí la botella.
That is a bottle of whiskey for drinking.
No. Gracias, thank you.
It's a Monroe Oloroso. It's very, very young. I think it's only about 11 years old. We launched it for a Whisky Festival in 2018, and that is one of the last 2 bottles we have in the distillery. So please enjoy. It is really good. It is one. I work at Bunnahabhain, and Bunnahabhain is known for making this unpeated style of whisky. And I really enjoy drinking unpeated style of whisky. But we started making peated whisky in 2003, and that is one of the best we have released to date, in my mind. Wow. Drink it. I mean, it was in my top 5 whiskies ever. Wow. And that's how good that peated whisky is, so it has to be drunk, not in a shell. Please.
Thank you.
Okay.